Hello, I'm a Christian, and I've I've been accused of being an evangelical at times, and that honestly confused me when I was referred to in that fashion because I didn't know what it meant. Based upon my life experience, I think I've come to understand that most Christians in mainstream denominations expect, even request and require other people to do their thinking for them. Basically, meaning that when they approach the scriptures, they have to go through their pastor's opinion or the doctrine of the denomination or the church or whatever. And I always thought that the highest authority in Christianity was the Bible. And so if you can argue from the direct reading that you should be able to find common ground with pretty much any Christian. But as I say, my experience has taught me that that's not necessarily the case. So let me, so I wanted to, you might say, give you the fundamental theorem of the Bible, and as is entirely appropriate, it's expressed by Christ, and he basically gives us the framework with which to approach the Bible and to the perspective from that we should approach it with. And it interestingly, he expressed this in a conversation he was having with the religious leaders and Pharisees. And what he said was, "You search the scriptures because you think in them you have life, but these are they which speak of me." He also says in other places that, I did not come to abolish the law, but in fact to fulfill it. So that's the perspective we need to have when we're approaching the Bible, when we read it as believers. And what does that mean? Well, what it means is that when you look at the Old Testament law, and Jesus, he came and he was born under the law as a Jew, it means that, as we all know, 613 laws, they've calculated in the Bible. Well, if you consider metaphors and allegories and prophecies and that kind of stuff, I suspect there's a lot more things that he fulfilled than even the 613. But the point being is that one of the things that Christians will say, and I think very rightly, is no person can live up to all those rules. And that's why person who ever could would have to be divine, would have to be, you know, the incarnation of a God, of the God, as he is. So Jesus really meant it when he said that he did not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill it, because from our perspective, he in fact did fulfill it. And more than that, I would suggest that because he was the only person who ever could fulfill the law, these things were written about him. So if you see, say, for instance, a law in Leviticus or Deuteronomy or somewhere in the Jewish law, and it's speaking about how a man should treat his property. Say, for instance, how he should treat a bull. Well, it certainly would be allegorical, but if this was written about Christ, then these laws are in fact allegorical or metaphorical of how he is supposed to deal with us, being that we are his property. Anyway, so that's how I believe that a properly oriented, Bible-believing Christian approaches these things. Yeah, and thank you for listening, and perhaps we might talk again later.